Tonight, recruitment versus retention.
There are still lots of challenges in our workforce.
How many more doctors are working in Manitoba and why others are choosing not to stay. Also tonight, a young life cut short. The teen football player who sustained a neck injury during a game dies. Plus, a bottleneck that just won't quit.
I don't think it was the right decision. It just caused way too much traffic.
Frustration as a major road construction project looks likely to extend into the new year.
CTV News. Live from downtown Winnipeg with Marilee Caruso.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Some good news and bad news tonight on how many doctors are working in this province. A new report from Doctors Manitoba says we saw a record-breaking net gain last year, but keeping them is a different story. CTV's Jeff Keel joins us now live to explain. Jeff, break down this bad news for us.
Marilee, there's a doctor's drain. Too many of them are leaving, retiring, or cutting hours. Premier Wab Kinew promised to hire more healthcare professionals to fix healthcare in this province. It appears that is happening.
It's been an exciting 2 years. We've had 2 record years of increase in physician numbers here in Manitoba.
A new report from Doctors Manitoba says the province saw a net increase of 164 physicians last year. So we now have 225 doctors per 100,000 people, a 2.5% bump, moving Manitoba closer to the national average.
Which means we're getting closer to finding a family doctor for every Manitoban and shortening wait times for specialist services like diagnostics.
Doing the work to make healthcare in Manitoba a much more attractive place for physicians to work.
But not all is well. There is a doctor shortage across the country, and retention is a major issue here. The report found 43% of doctors are considering reducing hours, retiring, or leaving Manitoba in the next 3 years. 40% of students and residents are planning on leaving or are undecided. 56% of doctors are experiencing distress and 48% burnout. Doctors Manitoba say patient wait lists and burdensome paperwork, like sick notes, are taking a toll on doctors.
We're being asked to do more, but we're not actually being given more support or more resources to provide those patient services.
The health minister says they will keep taking the pulse of doctors.
We're committed to continuing to listen to doctors, take steps like further reducing their administrative burden, innovating healthcare, and making our healthcare system more modernized so that they're excited to practice in Manitoba.
The report says as of April 30th, Manitoba now has 3,498 doctors.
All right, thanks for this, Jeff. To some devastating news now involving a Winnipeg high school student who sustained a spinal injury during a football game earlier this month. The Winnipeg School Division says Darius Hartshorn, a grade 12 student at Sisler High School, has died. In a statement, the division offered its condolences and said support services will be made available at the school. This news comes nearly 2 weeks after the teen sustained a neck injury during a football game between Sisler and Techvoc high schools. A family member told CTV News the injury happened on the first play of the game, calling it a bad collision and a fluke play. A moment of silence was held for the teen in the Manitoba legislature today. Afterwards, PC leader and former Winnipeg Blue Bomber Abhi Khan shared an emotional tribute to Darius.
Darius turned 17 on Saturday. Sad to see a life taken so soon. Our thoughts and prayers are with you, your family, your loved ones, classmates, and everyone at Sisler. May you rest in peace, Darius, doing something you love, playing a sport. One of the hardest things you can go through, and as a parent, my heart breaks for you.
I know that so many Manitobans have reached out to express just how sad this situation is. So as we offer our collective condolences to Darius and Darius's family, we want to ensure that perhaps there is some comfort for you during this difficult time, knowing that the entire province is behind you.
An online fundraiser set up when Hartshorn was injured had raised $52,000 by this afternoon. Frustration tonight on the road for many drivers in Winnipeg's West End as the city works on wrapping up another construction season. This section of Portage Avenue east and westbound has been under construction since the middle of summer, and there's word tonight it may not be complete now until the spring of 2026. CTV's Joseph Bernacki joins us live with an update. Joseph, I hear you spoke with members of the Westwood business community today. How has this construction impacted their doors?
Marilee, the last few months of driving down Portage Avenue have been a slog for many customers. Customers of ACR Auto Glass are adding a lot of extra time to get there lately.
Sometimes, traffic's backed up to the Grace Hospital and beyond. Customers complaining of 45-minute to 60-minute wait times to get down Portage Avenue.
Chris Shea, general manager of the shop, says road construction on Portage Avenue between Sturgeon Road and Cavalier Drive has been a hassle since midsummer. It's a lengthy stretch of construction, and drivers are waiting in both directions.
The traffic is wild. Customers complaining constantly of wait times, or the worst is, end of the day traffic, that 2:30 to 5 o'clock time when customers are coming back to pick up vehicles.
And his business is not the only one impacted. Shea's neighbor Dean Davis runs Earl's Automotive. He says it's been an excruciating wait for parts he has to order to service vehicles. His suppliers can't get through the lines of cars.
The delay on getting the parts have gone from 15 minutes to sometimes an hour and a half. And they're just down the street.
City of Winnipeg Public Works Committee Chair Janice Luke says this is one of the longest road projects ever, 15.66 lane kilometers. This number is a total of 4 lanes in each direction and will cost $5.3 million. Luke says losing 12 to 14 days of rain has been a factor, but boots should have been on the ground earlier.
People are frustrated, and I feel their pain. I think personally, the city and the consulting firm should have got that project out the door sooner.
More October rain is delaying the project to next spring, according to Luke's. Davis says working on both sides of such a major artery was a mistake.
I don't think it was the right decision. It just caused way too much traffic and disruption with every business along Portage here. It's just been stupid, period.
We reached out to the City of Winnipeg for comment to understand more about the timelines to complete the project and to find out what has caused the delays. They acknowledged our request and they're working on getting us a response.
All right, thanks for this, Joseph. Winnipeg City councillors have voted officially in favor of a more than $750 million plan to expand Route 90. Today, council voted 11-2 in favor of the Kenaston widening and St. James Bridge refurbishment project. It will be funded solely by debt and begin no later than 2027. According to a report before City Hall, $5 million will be needed to pay for property acquisitions in the area. Mayor Scott Gillingham is defending the pricey project, saying it's about unlocking the potential of a regional trade route with huge population growth. Council wasn't unanimously in favor of the project. St. Boniface councillor Matt Allard and newly sworn in Elmwood East Kildonan councillor Emma Durand-Wood voted against it. A motion at Winnipeg City Hall is proposing planned curbside compost collection be done in-house and not contracted out to a private company. Right now, anyone unable to compost kitchen waste themselves has to drop it off at one of the city's depots located throughout the city. The city plans to start curbside pickup in 2030. A motion now in front of council says the city should do all the work. The motion put forward by St. Vital City Councillor Brian Mays says the city could do the work itself for a cost comparable to hiring a private company, and the city can save money through joint equipment purchases with other jurisdictions. The motion says doing the work in-house can also provide entry-level city jobs to members of disadvantaged communities. The motion still need council approval. All right, let's bring in Colleen Brady now and get a first look at your Skywatch evening forecast. What are you tracking for us tonight?
Well, if you are in southwestern Manitoba, a little bit of rain, a little bit of snow, and I'm not sure. We could see some of it moving in our direction. It's a little unclear.
We'll check back in with Colleen. We're having some microphone issues. Once we get that taken care of, she'll be back with the rest of your forecast. RCMP have allegedly uncovered a stash of weapons, ammunition, cigarettes, and stolen property in southeastern Manitoba. Tuesday, officers from several RCMP teams and the St. Anne Police Department executed search warrants on 2 properties near Zoda. And this is what they found. Check it out. More than 10 firearms, ammo, and over 40 cartons of unstamped cigarettes. They also recovered stolen property, including a hydraulic press and a generator worth thousands of dollars. RCMP say some of the guns were stolen. A 42-year-old man from Zoda is in custody facing a long list of weapons and possession of stolen property crimes, as well as failing to comply with a release order. Officers also arrested 2 women who were released with a future court date. Legislation that gave the municipal board more power over local land use decisions is creating confusion and slowing down development. That is the conclusion of an independent review of the Planning Amendment and City of Winnipeg Charter Amendment Act, otherwise known as Bill 37, which was introduced by the previous PC government in 2021. It was intended to make planning and approvals easier and more transparent and create new ways to appeal local decisions. However, municipalities say they're being sidelined, and the review found the municipal board was largely unable to hear appeals on time. The province has accepted all 19 recommendations in the report. One of the most exciting and explosive players on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers is up for a pair of CFL awards.
Down, and his return by Trey Naval across the 30, 40, 50, turns on the jets. Naval off to the right.
Trey Naval ran back a league best 4 returns for touchdowns this year. He also added 25 tackles and 1 interception in his first CFL season. Naval is the West Division finalist for Most Outstanding Rookie and Most Outstanding Special Teams Player. The CFL Awards will be handed out November 13th at Club Regent as part of the Grey Cup Festival. Naval and the Bombers square off against the Alouettes in Montreal Saturday with a trip to the CFL East Division Final on the line. 2 high school football giants battled it out yesterday during the JV-12 championships. The championship showdown was between the Oak Park Raiders and Dakota Lancers. The cup went to the Raiders, who had a perfect season. Raiders won this one 48-12. And in the Quad A Bramwell Bowl, that one went to Brandon's Crocus Plains Plainsmen. They won 30-12 against Sturgeon Heights Huskies. Finally, in the JV 9 semifinals, Miles Mack beat out Crocus Plains 32-13, and Grant Park won 36 over Vincent Massey. Varsity football playoffs continue tonight. The key to Arctic sovereignty could come from the south. How much it could cost to buy submarines from South Korea and why Canada can't afford to do nothing. Taking a look at the markets tonight, crude oil gained 9 cents. 9 cents. Not sure there. That one went by too fast. Hopefully you caught it. Gold futures added $15. The TSX rose 34 points. The Dow Jones fell 109 points, while the Nasdaq lost 377 points.
Hopefully you can hear me a little bit better. Yeah, we got things straightened out there, but maybe you'd prefer not to hear what I have to say, because I was going to point out this. It's not just rain falling in southwestern Manitoba. We're seeing some flurries mixing in there too, and we may see more of that yet tonight, more so in the southwest, but outside chance we could see flurries overnight here in Winnipeg in the southeast. Then we will have the last day of October, which is tomorrow already, if you can believe it. That also means it's Halloween. I will have your trick-or-treat forecast coming up. Let's take a look right now through the Bath Fitter Live Eye. Bath Fitter, your bath and shower experts for more than 40 years. In Winnipeg right now, we've had some light drizzle over the past hour or two. It is 4 degrees, light winds out of the west-northwest. At 9 kilometers an hour, the pressure is dropping, and the humidity right now, Marilee, is 89%.
Thanks, Colleen. The Manitoba government's senior advisor on homelessness is leaving her position after roughly 10 months on the job. The government says Tessa Blakey Whitecloud will be moving on to a role outside government. Blakey Whitecloud was hired in January at a salary of $177,000 to lead the government's effort to end chronic homelessness within 7 years. Part of the effort involved promises to clear encampments and ensure more housing is made available. Bernadette Smith, the Minister for Housing, Addictions and Homelessness, says Blakey Whitecloud has helped get 100 homes for people who had been living in encampments, and the work will continue. Canada has answered the appeal for help after a powerful hurricane pummeled the Caribbean, leaving a path of destruction and a climbing death toll. CTV's Abigail Beeman has more on the rescue efforts on the ground and where aid is needed most.
This family fights tears surveying the damage to their home in coastal Black River.
If we had stayed, we'd have died.
And at the same time feels fortunate.
And thank God I can find a bed to sleep on. So even though they are soaking wet, but we can lean them up with the water can drain out. If we even sit up, we will manage. We will manage.
Hurricane Melissa has killed dozens and caused massive destruction across Jamaica, Haiti, and Cuba.
Today, our government is providing $7 million in humanitarian assistance.
That promise from Ottawa breaks down to $5 million for humanitarian partners providing aid such as sanitation and clean water, and $2 million for the World Food Program distributing food and relief. The government says Canada hasn't received any requests for military or personnel help, but stands ready.
We're standing with the Caribbean today, and we'll be here tomorrow to help rebuild stronger, safer, and more resilient.
We think this is going to be a little worse than what the initial reports are looking like.
The group Global Medic has portable water purification units and family emergency kits on the way to Jamaica, offering drone service as well. Rahul Singh says being on an island poses additional challenges.
There's less infrastructure and less capacity for folks to go to. And then with the flooding, and then the flooding sitting there, you've got to get rid of that water.
Tonight, Hurricane Melissa batters on towards Bermuda, downgraded to a still very powerful Category 2 storm. At this point, it's forecast to be a post-tropical storm as it passes Canada's east coast early Saturday morning. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
Prime Minister Mark Carney is getting his first look at the South Korean contender to replace Canada's aging submarine fleet. On the margins of the APEC summit, Mark Carney visited a shipyard accompanied by South Korea's president. CTV's Judy Trin reports.
This is Hanwha's KSS-3 submarine, launched into the sea just in time for the Prime Minister's visit. Mark Carney climbed down 7 meters to check out what the South Koreans want Canada to buy.
I told him we can build a submarine in 6 years.
The Royal Canadian Navy needs to begin replacing its aging fleet by 2035. Of its 4 submarines, only 1 is operational, the others in maintenance.
It's the only technology in the Navy that guarantees that we control our waters. We get to say who comes into our waters, and if they don't have our permission, then we can keep them out.
Hanwha uses robot technology to build its submarines, which will cost about $2 billion each. It's competing with a German-Norwegian venture. Carney toured TKMS over the summer. Its state-of-the-art vessel is still in production. During a visit to Ottawa last week, the CEO didn't provide a cost estimate.
And of course, we will calculate on a base what the customer wants to have, which capabilities should the submarine have. So for us, I think it's too early to shout out a price range.
The Navy wants to buy 12 new submarines. The successful bid must also benefit Canada.
Factors like industrial benefits for the country, the use of Canadian inputs, materials like steel, the timeliness of the delivery of a submarine, for example, will be important for us.
The federal government says it will choose the winning submarine contractor in 2026, but it could happen earlier. Judy Trin, CTV News, Koje, South Korea.
The Ford government is taking the next steps towards the potential creation of a new energy corridor and pipeline from Western Canada.
It's a feasibility study. The conversation's just beginning, but we can't wait. We've got to move quickly on all opportunities to build this corridor for a Made in Canada solution. It'll open up the north, and it's good news for all provinces and all territories.
The study will explore the benefits of building oil and gas pipelines from Alberta and Saskatchewan to new and existing refineries in Ontario. The Premier's office says the proposal will unlock new markets for Canada's energy resources while reducing dependence on the United States. Opposition leaders say details are still scarce. Trade talks between Mark Carney and Donald Trump are on hold, but Trump did meet today with China's President Xi Jinping in South Korea. Afterwards, Trump said he would be cutting tariffs on China.
We have a deal. Now every year we'll renegotiate the deal, but I think the deal will go on for a long time, long beyond the year. We'll negotiate at the end of a year, but all of the rare earth has been settled, and that's for the world. I mean, worldwide. It is, because you could really say this was a worldwide situation, not just the U.S. situation.
Trump said he would lower the combined tariff rate on China from 57% to 47%, and he says he will visit China in April. What did not seem to come up, though, between the two leaders is the ownership of TikTok. 5 more people have been arrested in connection to that jewelry heist at the Louvre. 7 people are now in custody, including 3 of the 4 alleged members of the team which committed the actual robbery. The crown jewels stolen have an estimated value of more than $100 million. They remain missing, and it's feared they were taken apart for reselling. In the UK, King Charles has stripped younger brother Andrew of his titles, honors, and his home. The prince has come under increasing pressure over his ties to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Buckingham Palace says today's decision was made by the king and has the support of the family. Andrew is being evicted from his royal mansion on the Windsor estate and will move to a private accommodation. The palace says the censures are necessary despite the prince continuing to deny the allegations against him. It says their majesties want to make it clear their thoughts and sympathies will always be with the victims and survivors of all forms of abuse. The Toronto Blue Jays are now just 1 win away from a World Series win. They now lead the series 3-2 after a 6-1 victory over the Dodgers.
Here he comes, off and going game 5 with a fastball that's hit in the air to deep left field. Call to the track. It's on the first pitch of game 5. Very first pitch, and now Vlad Jr. hooks a ball down the left field line. They've got back-to-back to start game 5.
Davis Schneider and Vlad Jr. made history by hitting 2 home runs back-to-back to start the game. Then rookie starter Trey Savage took care of the rest. The 22-year-old right-hander went 7 innings, setting a World Series rookie record with 12 strikeouts. It was just his 8th career big league start.
It's been a crazy year, but being surrounded by vets is a great thing for the future of my career. They've treated me the best I could have ever asked for, so going forward with other rookies that come up, I'm going to remember how I was treated when I got here.
The Blue Jays arrived back at Pearson Airport early this morning. Game 6 is 7 o'clock tomorrow night in Toronto. The Blue Jays, in case you're wondering, last won the World Series back in 1993.
Having your photo taken and your fingerprints done feels really weird and wrong to us.
The trade war hits Americans where it hurts. We'll tell you where some Canadian snowbirds are choosing to go this winter instead of the U.S.
And the first weekend of the month of November for Winnipeg starts Saturday, Sunday with a long-range forecast. Saturday, a mix of sun and cloud up to 5 degrees, all the way up to 10 on Sunday. Now, there's both the possibility of a mix of sun and cloud and rain. Bright and sunny sunshine on Monday. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Up to 9 degrees. Increasing clouds Tuesday afternoon, up to 6 degrees on Wednesday under a mix of sun and cloud.
Have a news tip? When you see news happening, let CTV News Winnipeg know. Text your tips, pictures, and videos to 10400. That's 10400. Message and data rates may apply.
Puck drop at Canada Life Centre is about half an hour away, and for the first time ever, Jonathan Toews will face off against the only other NHL team he's played for. CTV's Daniel Helmerson has your preview.
When Jonathan Toews hits the ice Thursday night, he'll see some familiar faces, but an unfamiliar foe. Toews is facing his former team, the Chicago Blackhawks, for the very first time in his storied NHL career.
I think there's still a connection to the organization and the city of Chicago, and I think there always will be. I think Chicago was my home for a long time.
The Winnipeg native was drafted by the Blackhawks in 2006, and it didn't take long for Captain Sirius to make his mark. In 2010, Toews led Chicago to its first Stanley Cup in 49 years, and he won the Conn Smythe Trophy as the playoff MVP. Toews won 2 more cups during his time in the Windy City, cementing his legacy as an all-time Blackhawks great.
So you kind of start to think that things are never going to change, or at least you just assume that that's the way things are with every organization, and, but then things change really fast.
Toews played his final game with Chicago in April 2023 before stepping away from the game for 2 years. Now Toews is re-emerging as a two-way threat for his hometown team. He's racked up 2 goals and 3 helpers through the Jets' first 10 games while dominating in the faceoff dot.
He's so driven, his mindset, his determination, all those things that we saw in Chicago for all those years when they obviously were doing what they were doing there and winning championships.
Former teammate Connor Murphy says it's weird seeing number 19 wearing a different jersey, but adds Taves still has all the talent and intangibles.
He's like that peak example in the NHL of if a guy you want to follow around and look up to and learn off of.
And Connor Bedard, the new face of the Blackhawks, says Taves' return to the NHL is inspiring for all.
It's obviously a great story of him coming back, and everyone's happy for him, so it's good to see a guy like that, back playing, and it'll be fun to compete against him.
Daniel Halmerson, CTV News, Winnipeg.
The Hockey Report, brought to you by Santa Lucia Pizza. Check out the game day special.
Back to Shifley, snaps, the time running out, they say no goal. Shifley shot and lying down.
True North Sports and Entertainment has extended its contract between the Winnipeg Jets and broadcaster TSN. It's a multi-year deal giving TSN exclusive access to cover Jets games. TSN's regional Winnipeg Jets games are available to viewers in a designated broadcast region defined by the NHL, which includes Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Nunavut, the Northwest Territories, and parts of northwestern Ontario, including Kenora, Dryden, and Thunder Bay. TSN and CTV are both divisions of Bell Media.
CTV Skywatch weather brought to you by South Beach Casino and Resort. Visit southbeachcasino.ca.
Colleen Brady is back now with more on your Skywatch forecast, and most importantly, I guess, the trick-or-treating forecast, since we're on the eve of it kind of tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be cool, but that's no surprise for anyone. The question is, will there be any precipitation? Well, it depends where you are in southern Manitoba. Here in Winnipeg, we can't entirely rule it out. The chance is a little greater in the southwest, and that's where we're seeing some precipitation right now. But not just rain showers, we're seeing some flurries mixing in as well. This was to be expected. This is courtesy of a pretty weak clipper, and clippers by their nature move along pretty quickly, so this won't be sitting around on us. Remember, like that rain event that we had a few days ago that just kept spinning around? This is not going to do that. It's going to move on pretty quickly, but you can see places like Deloraine getting a little bit of some flurries, maybe even some light snow. Melita, some rain there up in Verdun, a mix of the two, but flurries can't be ruled out tonight. In Brandon, for instance, you may well also see showers there, but also you can see how this band of rain comes down straight into the southeast part of the province, so we can't entirely rule out showers or flurries overnight here in Winnipeg. The chance is low, but it's not zero, put it that way. Further north, cloudy tonight through central and northern parts of the province. Pretty inactive weather there overnight. Meanwhile, the action continues down here in the south, such as it is, but you can see more of that flip over from rain showers to flurries as the temperature drops closer to freezing, and to be expected there. Now, we get into the morning ahead. Again, you can't rule out the flurries here in the Winnipeg area, but once we approach trick-or-treat time, it should be dry, but just if you're still trying to pick a costume, pick a warm one, because it will be a little cool, about 4 degrees throughout trick-or-treating hours. I'll show you that in just a moment. We start to clear out, though, as we get later on into a Friday night and into Saturday to start the weekend. A much brighter start with some sunshine returning to many areas, but the next precipitation is approaching, or the next low-pressure system, rather, with precipitation will be approaching from the west as we get into the second part of the weekend. For tonight, for Winnipeg, Thursday down to 2 with that chance of overnight showers or flurries. Light winds out of the northwest at 10 kilometers an hour, shifting but not strengthening. Northeast winds at 10 tomorrow. A chance of flurries earlier in the morning when it's a little cooler. Throughout the rest of the day, there's that low chance popping up of showers, but again, it's a low chance. Otherwise, it will be cloudy with a high of 3 degrees. 5 is the high. That'll be around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But then it is trick-or-treat time. So here is your trick-or-treat forecast. Temperatures throughout those trick-or-treating hours, prime time 5 through 7 p.m. Still pretty consistent, cloudy with a low chance of showers, with temperatures holding steady right around 4 degrees. Dipping just below freezing up into the northeast tonight. A little bit of flurry activity there in Churchill. Now Churchill, your temperature is going to fall tomorrow. Thompson up to 1 degree and cloudy. In the northwest tonight, cloudy there. Overnight low slipping below freezing as far as -4 in Lynn Lake. A mix of sun and cloud for most areas. A little cloudier for Norway House, up to 3 tomorrow. In the southwest tonight, a little bit of precipitation there across the region. Now again, don't be surprised if you see showers flip over to flurries right around the region. Brandon down to 0. We'll see 4 degrees for Brandon tomorrow. Up in our region here in the southeast, best chance of precipitation is east of the city. Cloudy tonight for the rest of us. Now overnight lows staying just above freezing. 5 degrees tomorrow for most areas. Again, with varying chances of precipitation. The chance is a little stronger in Steinbach. Northwestern Ontario, partly cloudy for most areas. It will not be 75 degrees tomorrow in Kenora. That seems a little excessive. Try closer to about 5 degrees. Our weather photos, let's go to those. This first one is from Jeff here in Winnipeg. That was out at Kings Park. A beautiful look at those fall colors there. And this is Terrence the cat enjoying the nice weather out in Navan, Manitoba. Send us your weather photos to Winnipeg Weather at ctv.ca.
The CTV Skywatch Pick of the Day is brought to you by MJ the Musical at Centennial Concert Hall, November 5th to 9th.
It seems more Canadian snowbirds are deciding to fly elsewhere this winter to avoid the U.S. as their vacation destination. The number of Canadians crossing the border has been steadily dropping, and a new survey finds it's likely to continue well into next year. Here's CTV's Pat Foran.
More Canadians are turning their backs on travel to the U.S., deciding to either stay home or choose sunny destinations somewhere else. A survey by the Travel Health Insurance Association of Canada found that only 26% are likely to go to the U.S. That's a 37% drop from last year. The survey found of those 61 years of age and older, only 10% are likely to go to the U.S. That's a 66% drop from the year before.
We've certainly seen a move by some to get away from maybe ownership or long-term rentals in the U.S. in favor of other southern climates.
The survey found Canadians are concerned about rising travel costs, political tensions, exchange rates, and safety. The shift comes at a time when the U.S. is introducing new entry requirements, which mean Canadians staying for longer than 30 days need to register and provide their fingerprints, be photographed, and pay a $30 fee.
Having your photo taken and your fingerprints done feels really weird and wrong to us, but the reality is many countries all over the world have already been doing this for the last decade.
Travel expert Barry Choi says while travel to the U.S. is down, he believes many families will continue to go to U.S. attractions, but keep a lower profile and not post on social media. He says snowbirds that own property in the U.S. will also find it hard to stay away.
If someone's a snowbird and they own a vacation home in Florida or Arizona, of course they're going to go.
Canadians avoiding the States are also planning to spend winter months in Europe, including Portugal and Spain. Trips to Mexico and the Caribbean will also depend on the weather and the cost of travel. If American destinations cut prices, it may be enough for some to reconsider a U.S. trip.
If some of the U.S. destinations start to go on sale, maybe that easy trip over the border still prevails.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Turns out sleeping in a dark room is good for more than just a restful sleep. It may even help you live longer. We will explain just ahead in Medical Watch. Turning back the clocks 1 hour this weekend may do more than just disrupt your sleep. A new study out of the U.S. is shedding new light on how the seasonal time change can have a negative impact on our health. And joining me now to discuss those findings is Dan Riskin, CTV science and tech expert. Dan, good to speak with you.
Good to speak with you. I mean, we have two reasons to lose sleep this week. One is daylight saving, the other one's the Blue Jays. And between them, we're all a total mess. And so I'm here to ruin everybody's week by saying just how bad that is for your health.
Better you than me. But I'll help you along the process. You know, this isn't really nothing we've heard before, because, you know, I've talked before on this newscast about, you know, the increase in car crashes following the seasonal time changes. But this new study really sheds light on some new and big problems. Can you explain?
Yeah, so this is looking at what happens to the human body when you don't get enough sleep. But more specifically, it's not just the number of hours of sleep you get, it's whether you're following a sleep cycle that is periodic and goes through a 24-hour cycle. So one of the things that's come out of the literature in the last couple decades is that when people get enough sleep but their sleep cycles are messed up, like they work a night job, and so sometimes they're getting that sleep during the day and sometimes they're getting it at night, that can be in some ways worse for the human body than not getting enough hours of sleep. And so this shift, although it's subtle, although it's only twice a year, does have a small measurable effect. And if you multiply that small measurable effect by the population of, say, North America, well, all of a sudden we're talking about a lot of people who are affected. And so in this model that they created, they looked at all the different counties in the U.S. They looked at where it is in the time zone. They looked at how how many hours of sunlight there are. They looked at what people's circadian rhythms look like. And then they modeled what would happen if we did have daylight saving or if we did not have daylight saving. And what they showed with their model is that there would be a 0.09% decrease in strokes if we didn't have daylight saving, but that would mean 300,000 fewer strokes every year. 300,000. And similarly, obesity would be lower because there would be a smaller impact on people's circadian rhythms, which has a huge impact on metabolism and obesity. And they estimate that there would be 2.6 million fewer people with obesity in the U.S. if we didn't have daylight saving. So just more data that backs up what you're already talking about with car crashes, that this is just not good for us.
Just 1 hour, though. Why would such a small time change have such a big impact?
I know, it's counterintuitive, and I keep saying that this is my new weight loss plan, is to just not honor daylight saving. By getting that extra hour of sleep, I'll lose 20 pounds or something like that. It is a little bit counterintuitive because you sort of imagine, what 2.6 million people are all of a sudden going to lose a bunch of weight just because they got more sleep on one day every 6 months. It doesn't make sense, but it's a matter of multiplying these probabilities by these large numbers. And so if it's a very small decrease in the obesity rate of less than 1%, 0.78%, and you multiply that by the population of the U.S., you do come out with a significant difference in the number of people who are obese. And so what you really are getting is a very small change in a huge number of people, but it puts a certain people that are right on that cusp. It takes them out of the obesity range and puts them down into the not obese range. But nonetheless, the numbers do stand for themselves, and they really do show why this is so bad. I mean, the thing is, when you're getting sleep, you're not just like flicking a switch and charging your battery and one thing is happening and you're filling a bucket. What it is your brain is going through these sleep cycles where it goes through different phases of sleep, and you get into the dream state, and then you come out to a lighter sleep and you go back into deep state. And all these things have to happen over the course of a stretch of time. And so you need solid banks of time to get through maybe 5 sleep cycles in a night. And so when you're tossing and turning, or when you left the TV on and it wakes you up at 2 in the morning and you get back to sleep, those little interruptions to a good sleep cycle can really add up. And so the real take-home message here is you probably don't have the power to change whether or not there's daylight saving, but do sleep in a dark room. And don't be looking at your phone right before bed. And do try to have a lot of light in the room as you're waking up, and try to stick to a 24-hour cycle. Well,
I like ending on this note, Dan. Something we can do proactively to battle this until maybe it officially is changed. Thanks so much for your time tonight. Always great speaking with you.
I love talking to you. Thanks.
A new global health report says climate change is taking a growing toll on Canadians. The Lancet Countdown found from 2020 to 2024, wildfire smoke pollution was linked to about 1,400 deaths per year. It also says extreme heat caused more than 40 million lost hours of labor last year, costing the economy $1.4 billion. Experts warn delayed action on renewable energy is costing lives and worsening inequality. New research suggests common viral infections like the flu and shingles can raise your risk of heart attack and stroke. The meta-analysis reviewed 155 studies spanning decades. It found viral infections can raise the risk of heart disease both immediately after an infection and over the long term. People who caught the flu were up to 6 times more likely to have a heart attack in the month after the infection. And those who had COVID-19 had nearly twice the risk of developing heart disease or stroke compared to people who had not been infected. The data was published in the Journal of the American Heart Association. Sleeping in total darkness may lower the risk of cardiovascular disease, the leading cause of death worldwide. The study was published in the journal JAMA Network Open. It found people who slept in the brightest conditions, akin to having overhead bedroom lights on, had a 56% greater risk of developing heart failure. They also had a 32% higher risk of coronary artery disease and 28% higher risk of stroke. The authors say the study only shows a link and does not prove light exposure causes cardiovascular disease, but adds it is a good reminder to limit screen time and dim the lights in your home before bed.
Medical Watch is brought to you by Manukin Koster Denture Clinic.
Curlers Plus, stick around. We've got an event coming up you may be interested in, and it is not a bond spiel. You're wanted for an upcoming movie. Details next in Spotlight.
Spotlight sponsored by the Casinos of Winnipeg, presenting Serena Ryder, the Merry Myths Tour.
If you've ever wanted to be in a movie, now could be your big opportunity. A film production coming to our city is looking for some background actors to appear in the movie, but there's a catch. You have to know how to curl. The production, called Sticks and Stones, about American curler John Schuster, is looking for actual curlers of all ages. You won't just be sitting around at the rink. You will be what they call a special skills extra. They want active curlers who ideally are on a team or in a league with their own gear. The casting directors are also looking for athletic-looking people, along with people of Korean and Slavic backgrounds. And there will be roles for people with 1990s looks. So mullets and perms, bring them on. If you're interested, go to nextcasting.ca. The Winnipeg Art Gallery is opening its doors to the public and offering free admission this Sunday. The WAG, in partnership with Canada Life, offers free admission on the second Sunday of each month, but for November, it's a week earlier on November 2nd. It's because there's a craft show and sale happening at the gallery the weekend after. Free Sundays at the WAG offers art, culture, and programming for families between 11 and 5, and there's a special doll making workshop in the Skylight Gallery. For more information about Free Sundays and other events at the Art Gallery, visit wag.ca. Well, this weekend you'll have an opportunity to go back to the future. The classic Michael J. Fox movie is being re-released in theaters.
I'm from the future. I came here in a time machine that you invented. Right, Scott!
It may be hard to believe, but this is the 40th anniversary for Back to the Future. After its release on July 3rd, 1985, it was the #1 movie in theaters for 11 of its first 12 weeks. Back to the Future is now regarded as a classic, and it spawned 2 sequels, a cartoon, which ran for 2 seasons, and a number of video games. And speaking of re-releases, a popular teen saga from the early 2000s is returning to movie theaters.
What if I'm not the hero? What if I'm the bad guy?
The Twilight Saga is hitting screens again in honor of the 20th anniversary of the first book in Stephenie Meyer's series. The first film, released originally in 2008, will be on select screens today through November 6th. The sequels will roll out for a day each through the 2nd. The saga grossed more than $3 billion in theaters. A lot of money. The primetime lineup starts at 7 with Hell's Kitchen. 911 Nashville is on at 8, and Grey's Anatomy is next up at 9. It's all right here tonight on CTV.
People started calling, asking for yearbooks or grad photos.
And some of it could be yours. We'll tell you which school is auctioning off decades worth of memorabilia and how you can claim yours still ahead.
Women's clothing provided by RW & Company. Salon services provided by S&Teak Spa Salon.
Well, let's take a look at the long-range forecast. Well, take the whole day. Let's look at the whole week, shall we? 2 degrees is our overnight low tonight. Along the way, there could be both flurries or showers. It's a low chance, but it's still there. Friday is Halloween. We get up to 5 degrees cloudy, again with a low chance throughout the day of showers. It just can't be entirely ruled out. That's about it. Saturday, Sunday, mix of sun and cloud. 5 degrees, 10 on Sunday, up to 9 to start off the week on Monday. 7 on Tuesday, clouds by the afternoon, 6 on Wednesday.
Thanks, Colleen. More than 100 years worth of history is going under the hammer as a private school in southern Manitoba closes its doors.
There's so many things in a school that has to go somewhere, and what better place than back in the hands of those who made the memories here.
When officials decided to close Mennonite Collegiate Institute in Gretna due to low enrollment, they realized they had a lot of stuff on their hands, and by a lot they mean more than 1,200 items dating back decades, which are now up for grabs via an online auction. And that includes grad photos, trophies, sports banners, uniforms, yearbooks, and much more.
Because the community is so large with a history going back so many decades, we didn't want to just reach out to a few local people that we knew personally and offer it to them. We wanted it to, everyone to have a fair chance at it. And so the goal wasn't to raise piles of money. Whether an item goes for $4 or $400 is irrelevant. We just wanted to go back to someone who has a memory and a care for that item.
CEO Chris Harms says they also have a trove of historical artifacts, most of which will be going to the Mennonite Heritage Archives. Bidding, if you're interested, goes up until Tuesday, and we have much more details up on our website regarding these items and sale. Just go to ctvnewswinnipeg.ca. Some pretty neat items available.
A lot of memories there, too.
Absolutely, yeah. You got until Tuesday. Start bidding. That does it for us tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. Hope to see you then.
Good night.